In Google Analytics, there are a ton of different sections and different reports that we can access that are already there for us. They're part of the standard Google Analytics product. However, what we can do is we can create our own custom reports so that we can create something that is unique and important for us. We can see the data that is meaningful based on what it is that we're trying to track. So let's have a look how we can create our own custom reports in Google Analytics.
If you've been using your Google Analytics account for a little while now, hopefully you are starting to figure out what's most valuable and useful to you. When we're looking at an area, what we're looking at is reports that have already been set up for us. So if we go to all traffic and we look at channels, we are looking at a report. So we've got this top section here in the Explorer area, and then we've got the further details that we're looking at based on what sort of metrics or dimensions do we have displayed. Now, what we can do is when we look at one of these reports, we can make changes to it in terms of, let's say that we want to put in a secondary dimension, and let's say that dimension we want to show the source or the medium. So we could add it in, so we could make these changes, and then what we can do is we can click save and we could give it a name and click OK. So that will then show up in our saved reports area. However, rather than starting from one that already exists, we can create these reports from scratch. So if we go into customization and then we go to custom reports, click on new custom report. Now, what I have is I've got within this Google Analytics account, I've got some events set up where I am tracking every time an outbound link is clicked on. So this is for the Up podcast, which I've mentioned on previous videos that I do with Lisa Crosby. And what we have is an episode, sort of the show notes, and we have links to a bunch of different things. So we've just started tracking that so that we can see specifically which of those links are being clicked on. Let's create a report that will show our outbound links. So I'm going to go ahead and just call it outbound links. And then what we've got is the report tab. Now you can have a report that has multiple tabs. We'll just put one on here for now. So I'm just going to call this overview. We've got options in terms of it can be an explorer, which is what we just looked at in one of those previous example reports, a flat table and a map overlay. And you can see as we click on those different options, it will change in terms of what we then can set up. So we'll start with an explorer. And I'm going to go ahead and select a metric, and if I type in the word event, I'll see everything that comes up that's linked to an event. So I want to see total events. I can add another metric, and I can see unique events. So I'll get the total, and then I see how many of those are unique. What I can also do is I can type in, let's see, the page, and then let's see, let's start with the event label, and then we can maybe put the event action. I can then put in a filter. So with the event label, if we've got any that don't have a label, I don't necessarily want to see them. So I want to exclude anywhere the label is not set, because that's what happens when you haven't actually got anything. When someone clicks on a link, there's not been anything, they've just clicked on links that we haven't actually set up and defined. So I want to exclude any that are not set. And then I can go ahead and just save it just to see what it's going to look like. So what we've got is we've got the event label. So I can see that, I can see the total events, and I can see the unique events. So this is basically showing me what the phrase or the wording was when someone went ahead and actually clicked on a link that took them outside of our site. Then I can go ahead and I could set up the secondary dimension, And let's go ahead and do the action so that we are seeing that there as well. I've got total events here. I can then select a second metric, which is what I added in when I created the report, so I can use that as a display as well. Once I've reviewed it, I can then just go ahead and save it, or I could come back and edit and say, right, well, let's go ahead and add in a report tab. So for this one, maybe I want to see a location. So where are people coming from? And I could do a map overlay. And we can see there that we've got the zoom level. So are we going to start from the world? Are we going to start from a continent, subcontinent, or country? So let's start from the world, and then we'll basically from there, we'll have the continents listed, and then we can drill into the continents. So again, I can go ahead and I can search for total events, and I'm going to again exclude. I'm going to keep that filter on, and then let's go ahead and save it. So now we can see that we've got the overview, and then we have another tab we can click on, and that's going to show us the location. So we can see that there are 2 continents where we've actually had people go ahead and click on these outbound links. So we can then click and say, well, let's drill further into Europe. And now we're looking at Europe, and we see Northern and Western Europe. Again, we can drill further. And now we've got United Kingdom. So we're able to then use those dimensions to drill in further, and then we can see at the top here what then happens is it adds the filters up here. So I can go back to all so that we go to the top level of that map, world map again. So then we've gone back to, now we are looking at the country, and we can see United Kingdom, Australia, Netherlands, and New Zealand. So we can keep adding things to this, we can keep adding additional tabs, and we can make changes, and we can say, all right, let's set this to the last 7 days. Let's apply that. And then once we've done that, let's go ahead and save this. So we're going to stick with that name, outbound links, and we'll go ahead and click OK. And then if we go back to our custom reports area, we'll see that we've then got that report listed. What I can also do is I can add a category. So I can say this is a category of clicked links. Click OK. It adds that in there. Let's go ahead and add another one. Maybe we'll have some reports we'll create about SEO, and maybe we'll have one about users. What we can then do is we can then select the report, and we can drag it to one of the categories so that then it displays, and we can see there within that specific category we have our report. So go ahead, start looking at custom reports. This is just one way in which we can have reporting from Google Analytics. There are a bunch of other ways we're going to be looking at, but this is the first way to where you can create your reports from scratch, set them up, and go ahead and save them, and then you've got access to them whenever you need them.
Hi, I'm Megan Walker. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned something from it. If you don't want to miss out on any other content, you can go ahead and click on my face below to subscribe. And if you want to watch the next video, you can do that by clicking over here and go ahead and get started. Thanks again.